Hello, Earth citizens. And welcome to Into the Black Archive.
And you've already peaked the microphone, James.
Yeah, I'm aware. I know. I wasn't expecting that to be so loud. Let me do that again. I'm gonna sit like way back. Right. Okay. Count me in again.
3, 2.
Hello, citizens of Earth. And welcome to Into the Black Archive, Season 2, Episode 2. How are you? It's me, James Stevenson, back again with another exploration of the classic world of 1960s Doctor Who, heading into the present day, one episode at a time. Joining me on this Dalek Invasion of Earth, because that's our episode this week, is Owen Cranston. Hiya.
Good morning. I am definitely including our first attempt of that intro, because it's just golden.
It is. What I didn't realise, listeners, was just how much that would make my microphone peak if I sat next to it. If I can picture this for you, I had to then record the Dalek voice about halfway back in my office room, just to make sure it didn't crack the mic open.
So we're off to a good start.
Yeah, we're off to another solid technical start. How's your week been, Owen?
Well, the thing is, it hasn't actually been much of a week for us in recording terms, because we recorded the last episode 3 days ago. Yeah,
we're recording again. We're doing quite a hefty week of Black Archive at the minute. But yeah. How has that 3-day stretch been?
It's been all right. I've spent it pretty much editing, working, sleeping, eating. How about you?
Yeah, about the same. Working. I've been editing for a different project, my mad Evasion one.
You betray us.
You edit this project, I do other things. Yes, I've been doing that and just dealing with busy work, setting into my new place. So, usual mundane stuff for me.
Yeah. So we're going to have to get onto this episode very quickly, because we've both agreed previously this could be our longest episode yet.
This one, listeners, is a chunky episode. It's 6 stories, and all of them are probably the most ambitious part of a Doctor Who story we've seen yet.
And also, can I just say, it's the first time which a 6 episode has felt anywhere near warranted.
Yeah, if anything, weirdly, it almost feels like it could have been more.
Yeah.
In some places. But should we just go straight into it, actually? Terry Nation's The Dalek Invasion of Earth, with almost no warning. Okay.
Yeah. So, I have to be honest, I'm really worried about the synopsis, because I normally do these without any notes. And also, which is normally fine, because it's normally a relatively basic storyline.
But
this is not. So there's a good chance I'm going to miss a lot of important stuff, so please ignore that.
So, with that in mind, Owen, can you give us an idea, what is the Dalek Invasion of Earth?
So our Tardis team lands in Britain, but is it the right time? We're not sure. Everything seems a little bit off, but slowly things start to appear which make it seem really off. Like there's mysterious signs about dumping bodies. Has there been a plague? Has there been a virus outbreak? We're living through one of those right now.
Don't remind everyone.
But then the Daleks turn up with their robo-men, their men which they've converted into robots. They then meet up with some rebels. They get separated very quickly. And then they all get sent off in their own directions. They all end up in the same place somehow. We don't quite understand how. It's just magic.
Magic, you say?
The Daleks are planning on blowing up the Earth so they can use it as a spaceship, which is definitely scientifically accurate. Don't question that.
Don't worry about it.
But by putting a bomb to the core of the Earth. But was it a massive crater, or was it just a small tunnel they could have drilled? Yes. So that's about it. I know I've missed out a lot, but we're going to get over it a lot more.
There's a lot missing, but the story it really is a hefty one. I mean, it's 2 hours plus of runtime, and there are pretty much 3 distinct plots running out the whole thing, maybe even 4. But at times, it is loaded.
The thing which makes it different compared to last episode, where we complained about there being 2 plots, these ones connect. They start off the same and they end in the same place.
They're all done really well.
how they end in the same place is questionable, I think. But plot.
Yeah, but we can get to that. So before we go into the 6 episodes, going one by one and following this mad, wildly ambitious story, with just the best imagery you've ever seen in your life, let's have a little check-in with our 4 firm friends, the team.
Why is it you describing people as firm friends?
Friends can be firm. When was that like a bad word? Like, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't.
I'm not going to call someone a floppy friend, am I?
That makes it worse.
The fact that I already know that's getting clipped, God help me.
Oh no, it's staying in there.
Oh, for God's sake. Right, how is our beloved Will doing this week, Owen?
So he was doing very well up until episode 3 and 4. But other than that, he was very good.
Yes. What does he do in episode 3 and 4? Well, I wonder.
He falls off. He gets dropped by a cast member and then temporarily paralyzes himself, so he can't. That's why in the entirety of episode 3, he's just sat down, and then in the 4th episode, he doesn't turn up.
Sorry, wait, I just thought it would be another holiday one. You're saying the man was paralysed?
Yeah, he essentially... I don't think they showed it in the show, because I was trying to find the specific point, but you know when they show everyone rushing out of the Dalek spaceship at the end, that bit when they try and attempt an ambush, which massively fails. So they're essentially... They carry Will Hartnell out. One of the people who's carrying him collapses, which drops Will Hartnell. He lands awkwardly on his spine on a piece of camera equipment and temporarily paralyzes himself. So he can just about keeps going for the rest of episode 3, so they can at least get that bit done. So that's why he sat down for so much of it. And then, so at the end of start of episode 4, you see him sort of like standing up and faint, don't you? That wasn't William Hartnell. That was his body double.
Oh my days!
Because he wasn't in at all for that episode because he was at home resting.
Yeah, because he would have just been like, "Look, your back's messed up. You need to keep your." Well, that's certainly a more exciting story than Barbara's just gone on holiday again. Barbara loves the Maldives.
Did you realise there was going to be something like that?
Honestly, no. I genuinely thought we were just going to have another typical "and Will's gone on holiday" conversation. But no, the man has nearly been killed. Yeah,
so that's why I said William Hartnell wasn't okay, because he wasn't okay for those 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, for the other 2, for the other 4, sorry.
In terms of his character growth, though, excluding those episodes, it's very good.
Yeah, he looked in fine fettle for the others.
Yeah.
So, that's Will covered. How about Ian Chesterton?
He's the standard. He's one of the better companions which we have currently.
Yeah, and he gets to do a lot of interesting things in this story. I often find that they just, because of the way Ian's character is, they throw him in all of these very kind of manly, in inverted commas, situations where he's just like, he's got to fight, or he's got to get into squabbles and qualms with various men and creatures. I just love how they somehow get away with just getting the audience to accept a science teacher could do all of these things. Yeah, I have no idea. I even kind of believe it, because I'm just like, look, there's a chance that my man Ian works out. That's completely acceptable. He might just be of a strong build. He doesn't look like a bodybuilder or anything, but he's lean enough. But why not? One thing which made me laugh, I think it was either episode 5 or 6, when he was lifting up because he lifts up some branches, essentially long piece of wood to block the pod with a bomb going down for capsule. I was just laughing at the fact he never takes off his tie, no matter how stressful the situation is, nor his jacket. Yeah. Throughout the entire episode, Ian maintains excellent sartorial conduct, which I realise has a lot to do with the age when it was filmed in, but it's just hilarious. Yeah, I find it brilliant that they're just like, you're in a post-apocalyptic 22nd century Britain, but no, the main thing is making sure that your tie is well kept and without crease. Yes. Yeah, Ian is just his standard self. How about Barbara? Barbara, I think, thrives in this one here, because she gets... Absolutely. Barbara thrives when she's by herself. When she can't, because I feel like the other 2
Doctor and Ian, story-wise, hold her back. A lot of the times they go, "Oh no, you're a woman, you can't do any of these sorts of things."
Yeah, they're just like, what do you mean?
But when she's alone, so when she was with Jenny, one of the side characters, she really does thrive with making sure everything gets explored properly and they get to the right place. And even comes up with an idea about how to defeat the Daleks.
Yeah, which ends up really being the key one, really. I'd say Barbara probably does the main save.
Yeah. But did you know, because I do a lot of research into this using different things. There's one specific one which I'm going to put in the description, which I'll talk about more later, but I'll leave it in the description because it's a very good video. But did you know which they initially planned to get rid of Barbara?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
So they didn't like how the characters were laid out. So they were initially going to get rid of Barbara, but then I think Caroline Thorne's husband managed to persuade them to let Caroline Thorne go because she wasn't happy in the role.
Yeah, and in the end, I think that works for everyone, for everybody, because that's the right thing. Because what we're literally about to get to is the main story of this whole 6-episode Dalek plot isn't to do with Daleks invading Earth. It's the fact that once we get to the end, the TARDIS leaves and Susan isn't on it.
We've got our first companion leaving us.
Yep. The original team has been broken up. Let's all have a cry. Owen will put in some memorial-y music in the edit, like the fake Titanic flute one, I reckon.
You just want to make this edit harder for me, don't you?
Yes, I do. Well, you don't have to, but it'd be funny. Susan's gone.
Yeah. How did you feel? How did you feel at the end when she left?
Do you know, it's an interesting one, because I was literally just about to think, as the episode was ending, wow, Susan's by far had her best episode here. They've actually figured out a plot for her where she's able to thrive as her own character and help the others.
Yeah.
And she was doing very well. But it turned out that very nice plot was really just an excuse to get her out. And you know what? I'm not too fussed because, of course, we knew that Carol didn't like being in that role and that they'd struggled to use her for anything of note before.
I much prefer how they got rid of how they handled Susan's departure than they did in the modern day Who, when the fam get separated. Because when the fam get separated out in the newest episode on New Year's Day, it kind of felt like a story, and then suddenly, oh, our people are leaving. This one here actually felt like it went with the storyline.
Yeah, it really did. It actually felt very natural, and it led... Because initially, that episode 6 ends quite earlier than you expect. So you think, oh, that's odd. Why have we got so much time left? But it's because we're going to have this long emotional goodbye bit, which is fully justified and works really well narratively.
And also means they can end the episode properly.
Yeah, the episode genuinely feels like it has a proper ending.
Yeah.
For the first time, we're not constantly looking forward to the next bit, which I think was a smart choice. We kind of just leave on that note.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I mean, before we even get into episodes 1 through 6, I really just want to put this out there. This is my favourite Doctor Who story so far, and it's really very good.
I agree. I think the one area where I did think it went a bit slowly was episode 4, but that was because they couldn't really do much without the Doctor being involved.
Yeah, there's a little lapse in pace, but I think there's enough going on with Barbara and Ian's narratives in that episode that you don't really mind too much, even if not a lot happens.
Yeah.
I just think overall the concept is the best one, and it was the perfect follow-up for the Daleks. The perfect follow-up was to just put them in London.
Which I think, something which I put in our general points, is that this is the first time which the set feels fully utilised. It feels large. It feels like the proper environments are being properly set up. I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that they were using the film cameras externally to get characters leaving buildings, coming into buildings, and showing them landing into an actual environment, even though they did go back to the studio for those shots. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was done very well, considering, and you could tell there was a bit more budget behind this one. I mean, it's still only like $8.99, but it's an upgrade on the 270. And they really use it. I mean, there are some of the shots we get of the Daleks, just the iconography of just having them in front of Nelson's column.
There's a reason why this episode contains some of the most iconic Doctor Who screenshots, essentially. There's a reason
I mean,
for
these
that.
are the ones you think of.
Yeah. So should we go into story?
Of course. And there is a lot of story to get through, so we shouldn't delay. So many. For a start, episode 1 lays everything out in a really nice mystery thriller way and ends in the perfect way as well. It's a really good opening.
Yeah, so they land in London docks. They see where everything's looking a little bit run down. There's a sign behind them which says something along the lines of don't dump your bodies into the river.
Yeah, which is terrifyingly ominous.
Yeah. And then Ian and the Doctor go off to adventure into a warehouse where Ian nearly falls to his death. Standard. And then
usual.
Barbara and Susan stay behind the TARDIS because Susan's into herself. Susan and Barbara get taken away by the rebels, screaming about, oh no, we can't leave the Doctor and Ian behind. Ian and the Doctor work out what year it is. Do you remember what year it is?
2164.
Cool, because I did not.
I hope it is, but I've got an image of because they do it on that little notepad diary, don't they?
Yes.
I've got an image of that notepad in my head, and I'm pretty sure it's 2164.
And then at that point, they go back to where the TARDIS lands, and they find out it's surrounded by Robo-Men. The first proper introduction really to Robo-Men, and then Dalek comes out from the river, which is such an amazing shot. Yeah,
I won't even lie. I thought that I was getting to the point with 62 where I was like, well, nothing's going to make me properly go, with the Davies era, which is the one I grew up with, that gets me onto that level. When I saw that Dalek coming out of the Thames, like it's Jaws, I was the first thing I thought was, that is the best damn shot I've ever seen on this show. That is perfect.
Yeah. Which I think comes into what we were saying before about how the use of the film shots are really helping to make the atmosphere feel better, making everything feel a lot larger.
Yeah, I think they get it exactly right. And I mean, the initial start of one, because basically they arrive on the docks, they're like, okay, well, this is London, that's good. And then Susan falls off something, hurts her ankle, and it causes a little bit of a collapse with some girders and bridging. It all falls on the TARDIS and blocks it off.
It continues the theme of something which still annoys me. In fact, the entire reason why we stay in these places is because the TARDIS is blocked off.
Oh yeah, this happens every episode, but at least they're finding new and creative ways to mess it up.
Yeah.
We've had an awful lot. We've had stuck behind trapdoors last season.
Force field,
that was a good one.
A caveman blocking our path.
Yeah.
What else did we have?
It just gets more ambitious.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? More and more ambitious. But yeah, they go for the collapsed bridge this time, and that's kind of what kickstarts the story. The Robo-Men are an interesting one, because that's definitely new for the Daleks, is that they've created a system where they're effectively turning, to be honest, it's pretty much like they're Cybermen, but without the metal bodies. They're just obedient, kind of under control. The Daleks have got their heads and their bodies and using them for whatever they need.
And I love the way they speak. The way they speak just amuses me.
It's just super broken up, very slow and stuttered English.
It's perfect.
You will work.
No, because their mouth opens more. It's like, you will work for us.
You will provide your labour.
Yeah, you're going too Dalek-y there. That thing.
Yeah, I know. I just can't do Dalek. I've got the voice in my head. I know we're jumping a lot here, but right at the end when Barbara's doing the command.
Yes,
we'll get into what the command is later. When she just does the Dalek impression. Do you know why, actually, though, I think that's quite good? It's because I have a feeling that back during Dalek Mania, that's probably what all the kids were doing.
Oh, almost certainly.
So that's just like a reference to what everyone was doing, which is really clever. So yeah, back from episode 1.
Yes.
It's really only from 2 that we really get a scope of the wider story and all the characters.
But there is still one phrase which I love from the first episode. So when Susan and Barbara come in, they're entering into the Rebels underground base thing, and people are going like, what? And all the survivors were going like, what do these people do? What that stuff? I can't remember who it is now. And one of them goes like, what does Barbara do? Oh, she can cook. Barbara sort of nods and goes, yeah. And then they point at Susan and they go, well, what does she do? And soon she goes, I eat.
2 more pairs of hands. Good.
She says she can cook.
Oh, can you?
And what do you do?
I eat.
And it's I love it.
I personally think it's a crucial role. That was the point where I realised they'd actually figured out a little bit of a way to write Susan.
Yeah.
There was actually a bit of personality in that line. But yeah, I think it was Tyler who asks that. And, because with episode 2, you get introduced to this big rebel group who are resisting the Dalek occupation of, well, the whole Earth. They seemingly have the whole Earth under control. You get introduced to a lot of characters like Tyler, who is one of the standouts in terms of how much he has to do.
Who initially really did just want to break away from the group, but then kind of got dragged in.
Yeah, he's almost like a lone wolf, isn't he? Very distrusting.
So this is in episode 2, really. We start going to now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're in episode 2 now, which is mainly concerning the rebels and everyone trying to plan an attack because the Doctor and Ian have now been captured by Dalek forces.
So we meet Dortmund, who's a guy in a wheelchair, who's supposedly a scientist who's making bombs. However, his bombs never work.
They're very poor bombs. He believes in them, which is for some value, but not much.
But I can't actually decide whether he's an actual scientist or just a con man.
The thing is, it's never really explicitly said. Like, he always says he's a scientist, but there's never any proof.
No, because he has them. We're led to believe this is our second attempt at attacking the Daleks, at least, and they didn't work beforehand. So then they again go and fight for Daleks again. They're planning to fight Daleks again using a new formula. And when we get to that point in episode 3, they don't work there.
No, it's arguably ineffective.
So then we go on to, I've completely forgotten what episode it is now, but Barbara, Jenny, and Deutman are on their own. Deutman runs off to try again with an even newer formula.
3, isn't it?
I don't think it's 3. I'm not honestly can't.
3 or 4.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember which one it is. And he tries it and it also doesn't work. They never work.
Yeah, there's 3 attempts, one off screen, one in 2, and one in a later episode. None of them work. No. I mean, really, what we're saying is that the leader of the biggest resistance group in London is just a massive waffler.
I'm seriously not sure whether he's just a conman or not.
he's just there like, come get your Dalek destroying bombs, come get them. Do they work? You'll find out.
Yeah. It's the most questionable guy. Yeah.
All the while that the rebels are planning and executing this ill-fated attack, the Doctor and Ian are stuck on one of the Dalek saucers, which a lot of the humans, or at least constantly say, once you're in a Dalek saucer, there's no hope for you. You're gone.
And so they're imprisoned alongside
Craddock.
Craddock.
I think it's Craddock.
Yes. So Doctor, Ian, and Craddock are held prisoner, but they get left a puzzle. Don't they? They get left a puzzle which they need to solve, and if they pass it, they become the Robo-Men, but they just think they're escaping.
Yeah, effectively, the belief is that they've seen a way that a Dalek could get out of the cell in case they were ever locked in, which is based on magnets and pulling the magnets using
light.
Magnetic force. Yeah, apologies, I'm really not a scientist. But the Doctor obviously figures it out. But it ends up that the Daleks were right on guard at the door. They immediately pick him up and decide, well, sorry, son, you're about to get robotized.
But there's 2 things about this scene which annoy me. They're very minor things, I admit, but they annoy me nonetheless.
Which, such as?
So first of all, we're led to believe that all the Robo-Men passed this test. Even Ian was confused by the test, and he's a science teacher, so we're led to believe he's quite intelligent.
See, what I believe happens is that if you pass the test, great, but if not, they're probably making Roboman anyway.
Yeah. And then also, they know the Doctor solved the puzzle, despite the fact beforehand they go, there's no cameras in here. There's no cameras in here. There's only cameras outside. They know.
Well, then I guess they know that if the door opens, they know that's the only way to open the door.
Yeah, but they specifically target the Doctor, not say Ian or Craddock. Craddock could have solved it for all they know.
Yeah, although Craddock was never going to solve. To be honest, the Doctor is very, very spiteful towards Craddock. That's really funny.
And
can't stand him.
I did love the Ian and Doctor scenes when they were in prison, though.
Yeah, it shows how similar they've become. Like, they've taken little bits of themselves and added it to their characters. It's been written really nicely, their little development since we've started.
Yeah, and you can tell which they're actually friends, that they can actually put up with each other.
Yeah, they can tolerate each other, and they do work together still to solve their problem. Like, Ian does help a lot, and they use their knowledge together. Of course, he's about to get robotised, the Doctor, in episode 2. He's put on this like slab with a thing, but eventually it doesn't happen because the attack begins, the ill-fated one, which causes enough of a distraction to get him out of the slab. Yes,
but he's knocked out, so he can't actually escape, which is why we're mentioning before he gets carried out, because he's put to sleep.
Yeah.
Poor Will.
Yeah, he's anaesthetised by the Daleks in preparation for the operation that never takes place. So then at 3, everyone starts to split up a bit.
Yeah. So Barbara and Ian nearly get together, but they kind of get separated from melee. So Ian stows away on board the saucer. Barbara goes with Jenny and what's his name? I've forgotten his name already. Dortmund and Tyler.
Yeah, Jenny Dortmund.
Actually, no, Tyler doesn't go. Tyler separates, goes off and does his own stuff.
Yeah.
And then, there's loads of exterior shots of them running through the streets of London with Daleks following them.
Which is where that great iconography comes in.
Yeah, and then the Doctor and Susan are with one of your favourite side characters, David Campbell.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to talk about David Campbell.
Who then eventually meet up with Tyler later on. And then Ian is with Larry Madsen.
Yeah, Larry. Yeah, Larry. I like Larry. So let's try and break this down, because this is really episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah.
To an extent, if not more, is you've got these different storylines that are all converging on this one place, which is a very large mine, which we're led to believe is the entirety of Bedfordshire.
Yes. But this is where it gets interesting. So they show this as sort of like a massive mine, but essentially just a tunnel which goes down, right?
Yeah.
So in the initial script, that was completely different.
How so?
So in the initial script, it was meant to be a massive fissure. Literally just called... I've completely forgotten what they called it now, but the Abyss. They called it from Abyss.
The Abyss.
Going through like the entirety of UK, crossing through Manchester... and all that stuff.
Wow.
And the story was going to be changed. So we'll go on to the ending a bit more later, but essentially the ending was going to be, which they sent Ian across they were going to send the bomb across to just the centre of it, and at a specific point, it will cause the end game, which we already know from this episode.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was Ian would accidentally just end up being in this cable car thing going across, and then nearly break the wire. Daleks realise this, Ian escapes after they put it back, but then the Daleks check over the cable car, realise, oh no, it's all fine, the car's fine, it'll be fine. They send it back across, and at this point, the cable car just breaks, just by luck, and then goes down into the abyss.
And that's it. That's how the story would have resolved.
Yes, and just the Daleks would all die off, but our cast mysteriously survive, which is still starts partly in it. But yeah, that's
good Lord Jesus. Okay, thank God they didn't run with that, because the writer in me is going. You are allowed, I think, in a story, one good coincidence. You're allowed one.
Yeah.
I think people will go with one. Anything else, and anything that pivotal to the story, no way. You cannot do that. It has to be constructed.
That's around 3 luck-based things. resulting in the end of the episode.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that. It just basically makes you feel like the characters haven't earned the ending. It's just like, cable car's broken. Lucky guys. Better luck next time. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah, so elements of that are kind of still in the episode because they look over cliffs and things like that. Ian still goes into a cable car at one point. But yeah.
Yeah, elements have stayed, but it's done in a much more constructed way. I mean, there's still bits that aren't great, but it's much better than that proposal, my word. So yeah, there are some good moments. Back to 3 and 4.
Sorry,
there are some really good moments in there. That's fine. We always jump, don't we? Yeah, moments like Barbara just running through a Dalek, like mowing one down.
Yes.
That's great. And Jenny ends up being quite a nice side character for Barbara because you get these two women who both see themselves as fairly strong.
Yeah.
But have different approaches. So Jenny's quite a sort of hard-line lady. Jenny
was initially going to take over Susan's place in the TARDIS.
Oh, wow.
The initial plan was for her to have her stowaway inside the TARDIS.
I wouldn't have minded that because Jenny starts out being quite a tough nut to crack, but she
quite
softens
abrasive
up
and all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah. Barbara and Jenny learn from each other in a really organic way, but they have a nice story, especially when they're trying to get to the mine. There's that bit where they come across the two clothes makers, and that whole scene is great. And yeah, Barbara just has a really great episode. And then on the subject of. Do you want to talk about Ian first? Do you want to talk about Susan in 4?
Ian and Larry, because they
let's do Ian and Larry.
They managed to get into they survived their stowaway trip onto the TARDIS ship, not TARDIS ship, the Dalek ship.
Yeah, that'd be something.
And then they get taken back to the mine shaft where all the mining's going on. They meet Ashton, a black market dealer. And they also come in front with a sliver.
Yeah, now what is a sliver? A Dalek's pet, yeah.
So that's a fun fact. So this episode's just full of fun facts, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, no, keep going. They're really fun facts.
So did you notice between episode... Because they end on cliffhanger with a sliver creeping up on Ian, and then they come back to Ian, they're being chased into a minecart, into a cable car situation.
Yeah.
Did you notice how the sliver changed massively?
A little bit, actually, yeah, because it starts out being...
It had a head which sort of resembled a squid, didn't it? It had a pointed head.
Yeah, it was like a proper creature, whereas it looked just a bit more sort of like a hairier thing.
And then they then recreated it to have like eyes coming off the top, protruding, and all that stuff.
Yeah, but why did they do that? Why not just stick with the one design? Or is there some mad production fact that will necessitate the change?
I don't think so. At least not which I know of. All the sources, by the way, for all this information is going to be down below because it's a really good video by a guy whose name I've completely forgotten. So
it's in the
apologize.
description, so we don't have to remember it.
It's in the description, so you can go watch it. So yeah, they just completely changed up, and apparently Sliver was a really big deal for this episode. Like a news reporter went out to the guy who plays the Sliver to ask for a drawing, so he drew it, and then the next episode it's changed completely.
Yeah, it's a completely different design.
Yeah, but yeah. So Ian and Larry go into the shaft. They go down where they meet Susan, where they find Barbara. Larry is then killed by Roboman, which turns out to be his brother.
Oh yeah, that scene's a bit of a heavy one because he realizes that one of the Robomen's his brother, and he's just like, look, I know that this won't work, but I have to plead to my brother to try and get him back, and that is it. That what ends up killing him. It's really quite dark.
Doesn't he end up killing his brother as well?
They both kill each other, really.
Yeah, it's never spelled out, but that's what I'm assuming happened.
Because doesn't his name's Phil, isn't it? The brother.
Yeah.
Phil the Roboman has this electric kind of bar.
Yes, he kind of hugs him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think they both get the shock, and they both go from that. And then obviously because Phil is the Roboman guarding the prisoners, because there's more than just Ian and Larry down there, they all get freed, and that's really where the chaos starts down the mines, which gets us through the through the rest of the episode.
Yes. So shall we move on to Susan and their new friends? I'll let you take on this, I know you like this character.
Okay, yeah, let me. So, we've been over. Barbara's met a new friend called Jenny. Ian has met a couple of new friends on the way. He also meets that guy Ashton for a little bit during the episode.
Yeah,
he's like a sort of
market
paid
dealer.
bounty hunter.
And Wells as well, a miner man who saves them from a Roboman at one point.
Oh, yeah, Wells. Yeah, I liked Wells. He's got a little bit of like a northern sensibility about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice character. But the one side character that really jumps out to me in terms of quality and how important he is to the story in the end is David Campbell.
Yes.
David Campbell. We're going to have a Dreamboat category in this Doctor Who podcast, Owen, because David Campbell, right now, top of the list. What a man. What a specimen of a human being. He's just really wonderful. He's a really good actor, and he gets to play almost like a romantic lead for Susan, and it's really, like, it doesn't feel mawkish. It's actually really well done.
Yeah. However, they do have the quickest proposal of all time, I think.
Don't worry about the fact he proposes marriage after like a day.
Yeah.
But it was the 60s. You did that, you know. You meet a woman, you own her already.
That's not all right. Let's just go forward. I just
What, in the 60s?
Even in the 60s, that was not okay. We should not have accepted that back then. But let's move on.
Disclaimer, I do not condone the owning of women. Yeah.
So they essentially venture down the sewers, don't they?
Yeah, they go down with the Doctor and they try and navigate their way through, and they end up in a whole bunch of pitfalls. All the while, Susan and David are becoming more comfortable with one another.
Yes. Fighting over a fish at one point.
Yeah, because David is initially comes from that rebel group.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that finds... he's the person who initially speaks to Barbara in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
When they discover the injured Susan. So he's there right from the start, and it's already clear that David has a real... There's almost like a caring quality that he has for Susan. You initially think, oh, maybe it's because he sees that she's quite young.
He's essentially... He's the most friendly one out of the bunch, isn't he?
Yeah, certainly. Because you've got a lot of the other ones, like Jenny is very tough nut at the start, and Tyler certainly. I mean, he's pretty much distrustful of the whole thing. David is the one that's the most hopeful and the most approachable.
Yeah.
And that really helps him with Susan, because they're kind of like peas in a pod in that regard. They're both hanging around with people who are much harder around the edges than they are.
Yeah. And the thing which Susan latches onto in part of the conversation, Susan essentially goes, I don't have a place to call my own. I don't have a home. I've never belonged in a place. Which then leads to the ending, essentially.
Yeah, because the whole linchpin really for her episode is the feeling that she's never really belonged anywhere, and that is what sets up the ending and almost takes that whole episode through thematically. And it gives Susan just a really good arc. It's frustrating that they couldn't figure this out in episodes before they realised they were binning her, because you can see now that there is a way to use her and make her a very good character, because this is by far her best episode.
Yeah. But I also don't know how they could have replicated it.
Maybe not. I think you'd have had to do different things. I definitely don't think... I'm not suggesting that Susan have a love interest in every planet and every time, but I mean, you're not going to find many men like David Campbell for a start, but... I'm
not having a Dreamboat Award. I'm just saying that at the end of this season. I'm refusing.
Look, if there is someone even remotely close to David Campbell, it would be a crime not to have one, because we need to put some respect on this man's name.
But I think this brings us into something which really does make this episode for me. The side characters in this episode are amazing. They've all got their very distinct personalities. They've all got different dimensions to them. And the fact which I can remember a lot, believe it or not, this is me remembering their names a lot better than other names which we've got. The fact which we can actually sit here and talk about them all individually. Because when we were talking about the Fowls in the first Dalek episode, we were just talking about them as a bunch.
Yeah, they're all kind of the same.
But here we can actually pick them all out individually and talk about their pitfalls. James can have a romantic interest in one of them. It's all going a bit weird, but we can ignore that.
Oh, it isn't weird. He's just a lovely man. And but while we were off, you compared him to Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec. And I'm sorry, there's very few people that are more dreamboat than Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec. I have a lot of friends who'll die on that hill.
But moving on from that swiftly.
Yeah, but like you were saying, back on a genuine note.
Yeah,
I think the reason why we remember the side characters and like them so much is all of them have a really nice, distinct personality trait from the get-go.
And they all have a reason to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm not just on about like one plot point. They're there for one plot point, say, which, like the woman Fowl in the first episode of Dalek, when she's purely there essentially for Ian to attempt to kidnap her.
Yeah.
All of these people they've got reasons to be there, which make sense within the story.
Yeah, and what I like, certainly with a side character, is you don't have much time to go into depth. So, and this maybe will border into some writing advice, but I will just continue on this path and see where I end up. A good thing when you're writing side characters is just to give them something that's really obvious and surface level at the start, just so you remember them from the off. Like, like on a boy band, when people will say, they're the sexy one, or they're the nerdy one, or they're the brooding one.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like that with side characters. So Tyler is the distrustful, edgy one. Jenny is the tough one. David is the nice one. So, you have those little traits already. But then, when you keep developing through the story, you get to put them in different situations. And you can explore them a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper every time. So you don't have to go too deep, but you get a lot out of that because you're just showing different sides of the character. It's a really, really good way to do it. It's very well done.
Yeah. But going back onto Susan, Doctors, Tyler, and Campbell's adventure through the sewers, they get set upon by two Robomen, and they end up killing them, or nearly killing one of them. Do you remember this scene?
I have some memory of this sequence.
So Robomen are going down the ladder, they start a fight, and one of them's on the floor, nearly dead, and Tyler goes to shoot it, and then the Doctor goes, "I don't like taking a life unless it's mine on the line." There's a caveman who wants to have words with you.
Yeah, we have... Will, we love you, but you did try to put a rock through a man's head, not 7 not burned stories ago.
Yeah.
We see right through that.
Admittedly, it's a year anniversary, I think, by the time it's broadcasting. It was a year anniversary of it being recorded, but still, you did try to kill a man earlier for no reason.
Yeah, it's on you. It's on your record. We saw it. We're listening. What I do also want to bring up about that scene is the fight choreography in the Robomen ladder fight sequence is shocking, and that's what makes it good.
I don't think Doctor Who in this generation has worked out how to do a good fight scene. Because even in the big fight scene in episode 2 and 3, when they're fighting over the saucer from failed attempt, even that I didn't have a bloody clue what was going on in.
The issues at the moment are the same issues that you'll find in any sort of half-assed action movie. The action is difficult to follow.
Yeah.
When they're fighting, it doesn't look like they're fighting. It looks like they're sort of grappling.
It looks like they're trying to hug each other.
They're trying to hug each other.
They just want to hug.
It's a BBC Saturday Night Family show in the 1960s, so I understand why you can't show massive violence. Like, you can't show people getting absolutely whacked in the head and their teeth going out and all that kind of stuff. But at the moment, it just looks like whenever you see a fight scene at the moment, I just go, oh no, this is going to be great, because you're just going to watch people awkwardly move around, and eventually some people will keep moving and some people's bodies will be on the floor. Yeah, they aren't good, but it has like a cheesy vibe which suits it, so it isn't too bad. It's a good laugh at least.
It works for what it's trying to do.
Yeah. Needs more Wilhelm screams, but oh well, doesn't everything.
I think it's largely technical for reasons why they are so bad as well.
Yeah, the budget's low. It's difficult.
Not even budget-wise, just technology-wise. They're not far enough ahead yet. And then we're coming up to the end, really, aren't we, at this point?
Yeah, because by this point, everyone has congregated in the great big mine of Bedfordshire, and we realise the Daleks' true master plan
is to take control of the Earth and use it as a spaceship through questionable science.
Now, I'd like to say two things about this. One, Russell T Davies is elite because the Stolen Earth is clearly a reference to this. It's clearly a reference to this, and that's very cool. And there's also the Daleks are the masters of Earth line, which keeps cropping up, does crop up in the Stolen Earth. Like, they go for it. Like, they really do spin off this episode. But secondly, on a scientific level, I've watched Journey to the Centre of the Earth, the Brendan Fraser one, and this makes that look like a nature documentary.
The science in this one is questionable at best.
It's amazing that this show was meant almost as like a half educational program. Like, they spend a good 5 minutes explaining that Dalek key plot with the gamma refractions and all that. Like, it's really well explained and it's all scientifically accurate. And then not an hour later, in story time, we're talking about flying the Earth. Yeah.
You can tell they need a proper science advisor, can't you?
Like, is it that hard? Just have a bomb. Just say we're going to blow up the Earth.
But I think the issue is with that just having a bomb is that the question then becomes why have Daleks invaded a planet purely to blow it up?
Well, I've seen a lot of movies where aliens have just decided to blow up planets. It's not new.
Particularly in this version of Doctor, I don't know if you've realised it, they're very good at making sure there's a reason behind everything.
Yeah, everything is motivated.
Sometimes to a fault. There's always
what example could you give of sometimes to a fault? Because I'm just really curious as to what you entirely mean by that.
So they go, just in this episode, this is a very minor version of it, but there's been other things in episodes which I just can't remember off the top of my head. But when they explain how, look, there's sources behind for Daleks so they can operate on Earth, that doesn't need to be there.
No.
That's just there just for fluff.
Yeah, but it has its own effect. I mean, it fleshes out the Daleks as, it's their plan. It doesn't really have a story effect too much, but it fleshes them out and gives a sense of motivation, which is always good. I get the idea of flying the Earthworks as a motivation, sure. It just sounds a bit like when I heard it listening to the episode, or watching the episode, I was just like, really?
Yeah.
We're jumping boats today, aren't we?
Definitely. So we come across them. They all kind of land in the same place. Ian overhears conversations about how the plan for the bomb, and he hides inside the capsule, sort of by mistake, sort of by luck.
Yeah, he just needs some
deliberate cover. Barbara and Jenny have ended up in the Dalek's control room, where Barbara is lying quite, I want to say badly, but also it's amazing.
Let's actually talk about the scene properly. So the build-up to it is they're in the mine, Robomen and the Daleks find them, they wonder why they're not in the line, and Barbara spins this yarn that she knows there's going to be a rebel attack, which truthfully there is, and that if they take them up to if they take him up to the Supreme Dalek, that she'll tell him about it. They get to the control room, they say, right, tell us or we kill you. And Barbara, under pressure, just reels off every single historical attack she knows.
The Indians will be coming, but we've captured the entire area of India. The Red Indians are coming, disguised. And then
the Boston Tea
Party and Boston Tea Party will attack from the other side, and then Hannibal will get involved. At this point, the Daleks, they go, this seems questionable.
Yeah, this is like Dortmund levels of waffle.
And then they try to dive over to the Robomen control panel and simply tell them to self-destruct. But then the Daleks go, wait, what? No, you go over there. We'll put you into the neck handcuff things.
Yeah, they have neck handcuffs, which bondage lovers will enjoy, but otherwise are very impractical.
And also, on the note of your coincidences and impracticality, Have you noticed how they're the exact height for both actresses? Like, if they captured anyone else, they'd be screwed. But these two people, they're fine.
Yeah, imagine if they wanted to put like a kid in there. That's just like hanging.
Or just someone else of a different size.
Yeah, no, they're very well measured. How convenient. Production constraints really are a wonderful thing in art. But eventually, everyone converges.
Yeah.
Ian, by hook or by crook, gets out of this capsule, is able to free himself. He ends up at the control room. The Doctor runs in with Susan and Tyler and David
just to
with
quickly say something, because it's vital to the end of it. Ian essentially blocks the tube up where the bomb will go with a piece with wood to stop it going down. Continue.
Yes, so Ian has blocked that off, so the Daleks' master plan is ruined already, and then they manage to get the Daleks surprised, and at that point, Barbara is able to issue the command to the Rovermen to turn on the Daleks, which works surprisingly well and surprisingly quickly.
Yes. What did you think of this ending?
It's not bad, but it reminds me of the ending to the first Dalek series we had last season, where it's just kind of, we need a very sudden way of dealing with them.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that point. However, I feel like it's the first one which truly felt earned and truly made me feel happy, which they achieved the end.
Yeah, it's earned. It's a little bit quick, but it's earned.
When you see all the people being free and destroying all the Daleks and being all excited, you legitimately feel really happy which they've been freed and we've got to this point in the story.
Yeah, there is a great shot they have where there's just a bunch of these freed workers just lifting the Daleks up. It looks like a rock concert. The Dalek is like upside down. It's hilarious to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works really well, and yeah, it wraps things up in maybe too convenient of a bow, because eventually they're just like, oh well, they're going to still launch the capsule anyway, it's going to blow up the mine, so we all need to get out.
And then they conveniently don't die despite not being that far away from the mine.
Yeah, they ain't that far, but don't worry, even though they use like stock footage of what presumably looks like nuclear tests.
Nuclear mixed with lava.
Yeah, because it's a volcanic eruption of molten beneath the crust of the Earth. But don't worry, it's just a bit of smoke. They're fine on the nearby cliff.
Yes.
It's a classic, don't worry about it.
Yes.
And then we get to the ending, which you think, oh, this feels a bit like long. It's because we need to have the tragic Susan goodbye.
Yeah, which we've mostly already discussed, really, I think.
We've gone into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say again that it's nice that they ended it in the way they did, with the Doctor kind of making the decision for her. I know that a few people might go, oh, well, you're taking a female character's decision away from them, and that isn't good. But it works because it becomes clear that she couldn't have left without being pushed. Yeah,
I think it's justified because you can clearly see she's struggling to decide between the two.
Yeah.
And it's no less than a parent going, no, you need to go down this route. That's essentially what happens.
Yeah, and he's right. Like, it's not like he's kicking her out. It is the right call.
However, he does lie to her. Outright, he lies to her.
Yeah, he does.
Because he goes, one day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there should be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all of your belief and prove I'm not mistaken in mine. This was actually meant to be longer, but William Hartnell forgot some of the lines, they just left it out. To be fair, there was a lot of technical faults on this day, so he just kind of just went out of his brain because he was just so distracted.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still works the way it is. I think if it went longer than that, my word.
Yeah.
It's quite a long monologue anyway.
Yeah, but it feels justified. But he specifically said, we will come back. He's never shown going back there, at least in the TV show. He does in the audiobooks, I think.
Yeah, but it's not TV relevant, so we're not going to be seeing Carol again. That is it for her.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Before we do our final cap up, then should we have a little quick Susan, the whole thing? What do we feel about her as a companion?
I feel like, as we've said all the way through this, she has been the worst one of the bunch.
Yeah.
However,
it's just they haven't figured out how to write her.
I feel like this ending was the best one for her.
Yeah, they write her out well, and she has a good episode.
It feels complete. It feels like there's a reason behind leaving her behind, unlike in some other times. companions have left. They haven't started killing off companions yet, which is quite nice.
Oh, yeah. We're not at the point where the only way to end series is to trap people in parallel worlds.
Or just wipe their memory.
Yeah, or wipe their memory, or have them die in 1930s New York.
Or have them die, but then brought back to life, because...
Only to die some more.
They can't get rid of Clara.
I'm not getting into this now, but Clara... there's a long discussion. If we ever get to Clara, jeez. Anyway, so I think that does wrap out the whole of the Dalek invasion of Earth, and what an invasion it was.
Yes, this is going to be the longest episode yet, even if I cut out chunks.
We have been going. Goodness me. But the thing is, like, I feel like we haven't wasted any time or gone on ridiculous tangents. That's the crazy thing about it. There's just so much to talk about.
Just on one other ridiculous tangent, because I think it's hilarious.
It's
an hilarious anecdote from the set, which I like. You know how in the background of everything they have like Vito, as sort of like vetoed, as sort of like a propaganda sign.
Yeah, I was wondering about that actually. It felt very Brexit, but I wasn't sure why it was there.
It was an in-joke amongst the crew against the props department, because whenever the props got too complicated, or the scenes that get too complicated, props department would veto it. So that's why. So yeah,
it's just that. That's quite funny.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of props like that, weren't they? In I'm trying to remember exactly where those props were. Like that ice cream stand. Was it when Dortmund gets himself offed?
They're in the background of that shot. They're in the background of when Susan, Doctor, and name forgotten. With Susan, Doctor, and Campbell, in that sort of like corridor with Doctor being ill because Doctor was ill. They're in the background of that shot as well. They just turn up randomly in the streets of London.
Yeah. And also, actually, one tiny tangent before we recap. Just, can we speak one more time about the fact that they literally filmed Daleks in the middle of London and closed central London off for it?
I don't think they closed central London off for it.
Well, it looked like they had. It was really impressive, and they managed it.
It was very early Sunday morning.
Well, then they did it at the right time, because it looks absolutely deserted.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't have been, I think even in modern day, you wouldn't be able to shut off that much of a chunk of London.
Yeah, I was thinking, it was like a popular show at the time, so maybe, but yeah. Now I realise that I think that is a lot to ask for any production. Doctor Who wasn't even able to really shut it off for the 50th, and they turn up in the same place.
Yeah, I think it's purely because they shot it ridiculously early.
Yeah, it would have probably been, I'm not sure exactly when it was filmed, but if they were filming it in the summer... then you get that really early light at like 4 or 5 a.m. Then you could have done it then.
I think it was broadcast around November.
Yeah, you still
November,
get good light.
December.
If you were still on like BST, you'd be all right.
Yeah, but that's what happened there. That's how they did it.
Just the iconography of those shots, like, oh my goodness.
But anyway,
that's just Doctor Who.
We are nearly over an hour long in our record. We like to keep.
Let's recap this.
We like to keep it maximum 45 minutes. We're definitely over that.
Yeah, we'll have to cut some things, but this episode does justify good chat.
So out of 10, what do you give it?
I can't give it a 10 because I feel like if I was going to give it that, it would have to be pretty much perfect. And it isn't perfect. There are lapses in that 4th episode where it does feel a bit slow and there's not much going on. Yeah. There are conveniences with the ending. There are some characters that are weaker than others, but they're all fairly good. So it's not a 10, but it's not a million miles away, is it?
No.
And the Dalek shots are practically an 11. So put that all together, it's got to be a good 9. It's terrific.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be around the same, a 9-ish level.
It is everything Doctor Who could and should be. It reminds you why you damn love the show.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week with a 2-parter.
Yeah, tiny one.
Yes, even smaller than the other ones. I hope they'll be better than the other smaller ones which we've had, which neither of us have really liked.
Maybe this podcast ends up becoming a double header and we just tack on like 10 minutes of that.
So we've got The Rescue coming up next week.
But until then, and next Sunday when you can listen to...
Monday, sorry,
we have changed to Monday, haven't we?
We've changed to Monday now, haven't we?
Yeah, we've changed over to Monday. Apologies. So until next Monday,
Yes.
when you can listen to us chat about the rescue, if you want to talk to us about Dalek invasion of Earth or have a chat about what we've chatted about, then you can get in contact with us in multiple ways. You can get in touch with us on Twitter by following at blackarchive.pod. That's the freaking email. At blackarchivepod is our Twitter, and blackarchivepod@gmail.com is our email address, where you can do roughly the same thing, just with more characters. What are you patting?
I was clapping you for getting the right details.
Oh, I thought you were like patting your phone. No. Your clapping doesn't sound very loud in my head.
No, I was deliberately being quiet so it doesn't get picked up on the microphone.
For goodness sake. It sounds way too good. I was literally just thinking, is Owen like using like touch screen phone or something? Yeah. But yeah, that's where you can get in contact with us.
Tweet us where you think they could have sent for Daleks to if they couldn't do London.
Oh, that'd be cool. New York, surely.
Some good landmarks. Tweet us.
Yeah, Eiffel Tower would have been nice. Yeah, there's loads for that. So yeah, tweet us if you have any good ideas for that. Until then, make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts.
Stop. I've just realised an important point we need to get across.
Oh God,
we need to do it before the end of this podcast. We've worked out the answer. The question which we all had.
Oh my God.
How many Daleks does it take a book club? We've worked it out.
Owen, tell the world.
One Robo Man.
Can't believe I didn't pick up on that the whole way.
Particularly when Barbara shows him the piece of paper.
Of course, oh my word! Because the Robo Man holds it. That's all you need. So all the Dalek has to do to go to book club is to enslave someone.
And with that...
mentally and physically.
And on that wonderfully cheery note, goodbye for this week.
We'll catch you next week. Goodbye. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of time. Well, just this episode, really. It's not that dramatic. But thanks very much for getting here. If you've liked what you heard, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at blackarchivepod or via email at blackarchivepod@gmail.com. And, of course, remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.